Alright, so to set up this themed Gif series, I want y'all to use a preset size for mobile and devices. That's going to give us a width of 240 pixels by 320 pixels tall, which isn't very big, but that's common with GIFs. You need to be aware when you set up the size for a GIF that you're making. It doesn't need to be humongous. GIFs are not high quality in terms of their resolution. They look better if they're smaller size. I mean, you can increase the resolution of them, but it's really better to try to leave it at 72. So I'm going to leave that right there. And this is going to be an animation function in Photoshop, so you need to set your workspace up for motion. And once you do that, you're going to see this little timeline down here at the bottom. There are two types of timelines that you can do. You can do more of a timeline that looks like something you might see in a video editing software, but we actually want to do a frame-by-frame animation technique, and that's what that should look like right there. So right now I've got my document set up. It does have a background in it right now. You can either leave that or get rid of it, but I want to show you something that may be a little tricky as you bring images over into this, because again, this isn't a big size right here. If I hit Control R, I can see my ruler. That's only about, it's not showing it in pixels right now, but that's only about 3 inches by about 4 inches, which isn't very big. But I am going to bring over the images, and I just got some images from that you guys uploaded. This is not set up like mine, so I opened my Word document. Let me just open it again. There it is. Okay, and I'm just going to copy and paste these from Word. You may be able to copy and paste them from directly from the internet if you're able to see them there. And yeah, this is not, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. So, and I do want you to see what's going to happen when I copy and paste these in here. So I've copied one, I'm going to paste it. It pops in and it's large. If I zoom back, Control minus, and if I want to scale that image to make it fit, that's going to be Command or Control T to transform. And we can see how big that is compared to that area right there. And I'm actually going to utilize the size of these, but I do want to make you aware of the scale of these. After you get it at the size you need it to be, to set that transition, just hit the Enter key, and let me get the other two, and Control C to copy, go back to Photoshop, and I'm just going to hit Control V again. It automatically comes in on its own layer. And let me do that one more time. Control C to copy. Alright, so now I've got some images that I can start to do a little bit of animation with. And just as you do an animation, making a GIF here, do be aware that you've got two different areas that you're working with. Normally in Photoshop, you're just working with the layers, but now you're also working with the timeline. And they work independently of each other. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I turn off the elements that I see over here on my layers, you may or may not see the same thing over there. But you've got some options in terms of what's going to happen there. So let me just make first a real simple animation using just layer 1. I'm just going to make a motion animation, and I'm going to zoom in so I can see what I'm working with a little bit better here. So right now I've got my first frame in this animation, and to get my second frame, what I'm going to do, and again my image is pretty big, I've got a little bit of room to actually move this around. So to get my next frame in my animation, I'm actually just going to move this a little bit. Well, let me do this. Before I do that, I want to make a new frame. And in this second frame, I'm going to move this image. And let me see if I can also scale it. It may affect what's going on in the first one. It didn't. It didn't affect what's going on in the first one. So that's all animation is, differences between, one instance of an object and the next. So right now my second frame is different than my first frame. So what I want to do is just make a tween. I'm going to make a tween between these two instances. And there's a real easy, little button to click for that, to tween differences between my frames. And you can set up the number that you want to put in there. I really am looking for a tween between the position of those two. And let's see what I get from that. And right now it's got the transition time between all of those at 5 seconds. I think that's going to be too long. So I'm going to click one, hold down Shift, and get all of them. And then let's just make that about half a second. And that's very simple. It moved from one position to the other. And I like to try to make my animations seamless, so they loop and start back doing the other thing. So the direction that they came from. So to do that, again, I'm going to select all of these. Number 7 is selected, hold down Shift, get the others, and then I'm going to copy those frames. Then I'm going to go at the end, and I'm going to paste those frames. Paste after selection. And then all of those frames are still selected. What I need to do is reverse those selected frames. Otherwise, it'll just sort of start over. So with those frames selected again, I'm going to go and reverse those frames. And now if I go to the very front of this, or I can just hit play, my animation's going to go 1 through 7, and then it's going to go 7 through 1. And that's going to give it the sense that it totally goes all the way around. So let's just say that animation is finished. That's pretty simple. How do you output these? In Photoshop, to output these as animations, you're going to go to File, Save for Web. And of course you're going to need to choose a GIF as your output type. And in this dialog box here, you can preview it. And do notice, GIFs again are a low-res file type that get rid of quality to save file size. And you can look around to see which of these are going to look the best. And I think perceptual and no dither may look the best, but you guys look around at that. And in this environment too, again, you can test it to see what it looks like. And oh yeah, I forgot something and left something off. I'm going to cancel this. And it matters. The way you set this up in this environment is going to be how the properties that you give to the finished GIF. So I actually want to, instead of this saying once, it needs to be forever. Generally GIFs are designed to loop forever. So now that I've set that property on that, I can go back to Save for Web. That back as a GIF. I'm pretty sure that's going to work. So I'm just going to go ahead and output that. And let me put it on my jump drive. Just call it GIF 1. Okay, so that's the first one. Let me make another one, and this time I'm going to use, and to make another one, I'm just going to clear all of these, delete that animation, turn this off, turn that off. For this second one, let me try something a little bit different. And as you work with these images that you select, you can do some different things with them. Like I could filter this image. I could, I could make a copy of this layer. And then again, animation is just about transitions. So if I were to filter this layer right here, and I'm just picking something randomly, I could then, that right now is frame 1. And once I make, like I could turn that off, and that's what I'm looking at now, and make that frame 2, and then do transitions between those two. So you can do all sorts of things with this in terms of what you animate and how you animate it. You can make selections from the layers. So let's say I went to this layer and I just pick a little bit of it, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And let's say I want to make a animation between these two elements. Let's say I want this element to fly entirely across the image. There we go. So if I want this to fly entirely across the image, and again, this can work in so many different ways in terms of how you set this up. To get this to fly across this image, the first thing I want to do at layer 5 here is I want to move it entirely off the screen, and then I want to make another layer. And in this second layer, I want to move this all the way over here. And then I want to make a tween in between those two position instances. And of course, it's going to run through there. If I do a real quick play of that, it runs across there. And again, if I want that to be, well, it's going to automatically loop. That one I don't have to do the thing where I fix it to go back the other direction. And I could output that like that. And but do be aware you can place elements off the screen and then bring them back onto the screen. And I can even go further in terms of bringing other elements into the animation. Or maybe I can't. No, that would change that one entirely. But, again, that's basically how you set this up, in terms of the size of it, in terms of some of the subject matter that you bring into it. And again, in terms of how you output it, all you're going to do is save for web, but also save your working document. Your working document either needs to be a PSD, Photoshop document, or a PDF, a Photoshop PDF. And of course, your working document, you're going to be able to reopen it and work on these. And we will be using these GIFs that you make later. So, so of course, do save them, and just let me know of any questions you have about getting this set up.